Ladies and gentlemen, as Bitcoin still fights within its current macro range between these two yellow lines going backwards from 2017 and 2021, both times being the all-time highs of those bull markets alike, we see the S&P 500 actually skyrocketing to the upside, breaching its all-time highs, and we see the DXY and elements of the macroeconomy doing insanely bullish things as well. Now, this deviation between the cryptocurrency charts and the traditional markets is not a bad thing in my view. In fact, I believe that traditional markets are front-running the cryptocurrency move that is potentially coming this month. A lot of people ask me what exchange I use as a trader. I use the Bitunix Exchange, and I don't have a contract with them. I haven't signed anything with them. I don't work for them. I advertise them on my own accord. With my referral link down below, you can get a 15% trading fee discount permanently attached to your account, as well as up to 8,000 USDT in rewards just by signing up with my link down below. Why would you sign up? Well, it's global. It's non-KYC. It's never been hacked before. It's got all of the functions and pairs that you would expect for a major exchange. For that reason, I use it. And I implore you to consider using it as well. Sign up with my link to help out the channel, help out yourself. Cheers. 2 days ago, I released a poll on this YouTube channel. Will Bitcoin end July above 115,000? Now, 62% of you said it would. So in the next 27 days, 62% of you believe that cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, will be at all-time highs. And hence, the implications of that being 62% of you believe that Bitcoin will have broken this macro range and started the next macro leg to the upside. So you guys are leaning bullish on a general scale. And I don't think you're wrong. The consensus of cyclical analysis is that within the 4-year cycle, Bitcoin can basically do whatever it wants. It changes from cycle to cycle. The structures are different from cycle to cycle. But the one thing that must remain the same, according to cyclical analysis, is the top date and the bottom date. And the top date for this cycle is going to be around late October. So basically, we can do whatever we want before late October. And that leaves open the possibility for a further correction downwards on Bitcoin or a move upwards in the macro range and breaking out on Bitcoin. And obviously this has led to a lot of debate in the last few months. Do we continue correcting here or do we finally move upwards? I think that I agree with the consensus in my community. I think that we will have moved upwards by the end of July. And I think this for a couple of reasons. Reason number one is that one of the indicators which was indicating we would actually go downwards, right, within the month of July was the weekly chart RSI resistance and support level at 62. 62 being the origin of weekly chart RSI price action, being a level that we have bounced off and rejected off many, many times before and has had major implications on the price chart, especially in the last year. I've used this example a bunch of times, but just look at how I'm drawing here, right? We break above that line, we break up in the price chart. We break below that line, we break down in the price chart. It happens over and over again, pretty much without fail, especially for the last year and a half, but it actually has seen a fake out. It has seen a fail now. We broke below it, and within a week, we were back above it. That is a fake out right there, showing that the bears dominated the market for a short period of time, but they were unable to push the price lower, and therefore we have broken right back above that previously very important indicator, and that resistance zone collapsed upon the bullish pressure. This is an excellent sign that Bitcoin is probably done correcting here. Now, this is compacted and compounded with the fact that Bitcoin within this broader macro range has broken from a descending channel formation to the upside and looks like it could be beginning a short-term swing. If we zoom into the hourly chart, what we see is not only a break to the upside from that channel formation, by the way, with a pretty strong volume surge. You can see that volume surge just upon the breakout occurring, but we've also come back down and retested it for support and continued bouncing. This is an excellent sign as well. So there are reasons to be bullish here from a charting perspective across the Bitcoin charts, across the Bitcoin timeframes, but the reasons don't just stop at Bitcoin. They also look into the S&P 500 and traditional markets. And a very interesting thing is happening with the S&P 500 traditional markets in comparison in relation to Bitcoin. And that is that, of course, Bitcoin has not broken its highs yet. Of course, Bitcoin's in the same macro range it was in months ago. The S&P 500 is not having that story, right? What the S&P 500 is doing, while Bitcoin's been consolidating and not doing really much at all, has been breaching to the upside. It's actually managed to break its all-time high, and it's continuing very strongly over the last week, further to the upside in price discovery. This is all happening while the DXY, right, the strength of the US dollar, is breaking downwards, which is incredibly good, generally speaking, for traditional markets and generally for Bitcoin as well. Now, the nuance there is that the S&P 500 and Bitcoin are known to foreshadow each other regularly, right? And it doesn't go just one way. It's not like the S&P 500 always front runs Bitcoin or Bitcoin always front runs the S&P 500. It goes both ways. All we need to do is look at the charts overlaid. In red, we have Bitcoin. In white, we have the S&P 500. You can see in the 2021 cycle, Bitcoin topped out and the S&P 500 topped a couple of months later. You can see in the following price action, right, Bitcoin topped out over here, the S&P 500 topped out a couple of months later. So it looks like from those two examples and further examples we can make that Bitcoin actually front runs the S&P, but recently it seems to have flipped around a little bit, with the S&P 500 breaching all-time highs before Bitcoin doing so. But the fact of the matter is these charts being strongly correlated to each other, not perfectly correlated, mind you, right? There was a big deviation right here, but these charts being strongly correlated to each other in terms of bull market and bear market phases, not necessarily range bounce phases, means that the S&P breaching all-time highs here is an excellent thing. We can see another example of the S&P 500 seeming to foreshadow Bitcoin right here, with the S&P 500 topping a few weeks before Bitcoin. On that occasion, there's examples both ways. Generally speaking, Bitcoin front runs the S&P, which is why this is a little bit abnormal, but it's not totally unheard of. And the fact that the S&P is rising is just a good thing for Bitcoin generally, because the S&P 500 and Bitcoin, they are not actually correlated to each other. They're both correlated independently to the same thing, which is the broader macroeconomic situation. And so they look like they're correlated to each other, but it's actually an indirect correlation. Still a useful thing to look at though. So on top of the regular strength across the Bitcoin range-bound charts, on top of the regular strength across the Bitcoin, Bitcoin breaking above its weekly chart RSI level, which I've actually deleted right now, but I showed you before, and with the fact that the S&P 500 seems to be front-running the Bitcoin move potentially, we can conclude that Bitcoin is in a very good position to potentially breach all-time highs this month. We don't unfortunately have any direct patterns. Like we don't have, for example, a triangle pattern on Bitcoin that comes to an apex on the 18th of July or whatever, and we know we're going to move by that exact date. We don't have that. We simply don't have that data. But if we're doing a broad analysis, yes, it's looking likely for Bitcoin to move upwards for the reasons of the medium-term charts doing well, the long-term charts having breakdown indicators that are invalidated, the S&P 500, which is indirectly correlated to Bitcoin moving upwards and potentially front-running the Bitcoin move, and of course, the cycle itself saying that we still have about 3.5 months left to move. So things are looking good. And it's not just Bitcoin that's looking good. Ethereum, the altcoin market, looking quite good as well, quite frankly. The bull market support band, this is the Ethereum chart, bolstered the support, compacted the support we had on Ethereum already on a horizontal basis between around 2,200 and 2,300, led to a pretty significant bouncing zone. We saw a bounce from that zone and we breached back into our ascending channel formation, which we previously had. We're potentially looking to form a new structure there. Also broke above the 200 SMA, which is a level that clamped us down for quite a while. And a level that we actually saw a pretty big volume spike to the upside from when we broke it last. Yeah, it was a fake out. Yeah, it didn't work, but it still was an important breakout nevertheless on a short-term basis. So it's good to see the Ethereum making strides in the right direction. It's good to see the Ethereum BTC chart, which is perhaps more important, the chart that measures the strength of Ethereum against Bitcoin, forming a ascending triangle formation on the daily chart and still seeing intense compression on the weekly chart. A very, very good sign. We're testing that resistance right there on the momentum indicator on the RSI right now as we speak. All we need to see is a little kick in the right direction, and we really should see altcoins start to get rolling. Total cryptocurrency market cap for the altcoin market is the exact same story. At the bottom of a ascending channel formation with a bullish structure forming, one more swing to the upside would double the altcoin market's valuation. It would be pretty magnificent. Not really something like we've seen in the prior cycles. It wouldn't be as big, but it certainly would be sizable. So I'll say this, I agree with the majority of you. I think that Bitcoin is looking quite good in the month of July. And it would slightly surprise me, I suppose, if we didn't break outwards in July. It wouldn't be like cyclically impossible. It would still be within the cycle for sure. But yeah, I think July is looking like to be the month at this point. Now, that doesn't mean that you should be selling the kids. I like to use that phrase, selling the kids and buying Bitcoin. You still need to wait for the breakout confirmations, in my view. Wait for it to actually happen. Don't try to front run it like an idiot and get wrecked. That's how I trade personally. Now, you can do what you want, of course, but looking good. A lot of people ask me what exchange I use as a trader. I use the Bitunix Exchange, and I don't have a contract with them. I haven't signed anything with them. I don't work for them. I advertise them on my own accord. With my referral link down below, you can get a 15% trading fee discount permanently attached to your account, as well as up to 8,000 USDT in rewards just by signing up with my link down below. Why would you sign up? Well, it's global, it's non-KYC, it's never been hacked before, it's got all of the functions and pairs that you would expect for a major exchange. For that reason, I use it. And I implore you to consider using it as well. Sign up with my link to help out the channel, help out yourself. Cheers.